What's up guys, my name's Brian, the owner of Engine Performance. Today I'm going to show you how to install the Advanced Flow Engineering cold air intake system and 90mm throttle body on a 2021 Dodge Challenger with the shaker and 6.4 liter V8. Now this install will work on all shaker models including the 5.7 and 6.4. If you're interested in purchasing either one of these products, you can do so directly on our website at enginecustomsandperformance.com. Let's get started. So let's go over the tools you're going to need to get the job done. Check it out. You're going to need a flathead screwdriver, a socket wrench extension, a 3/8 inch socket wrench, 10mm wrench, a 10 and an 8mm socket, and a small impact to make things go a little bit faster. All right, the first step is actually in the trunk, and that's due to the battery needing to be disconnected. Now you've got your negative and your positive. It's going to take a 10mm socket to disconnect. All right, next step is going to be in the engine compartment. We need to remove the factory shaker. Now the first step is you're going to see you've got 4 bolts there, one there, and one there, and you're going to remove those with a 10mm socket. Off. All right, next we need to remove 2 retaining clips that secures this hose that goes from the actual shaker to the air box. So you can see one is right here, and then the other one is right here. All right, best way to remove these is just with a thin flathead. Be careful not to lose it. All right, this first one. All right, then the second one, same thing. All right, next we've got 4 bolts here, and then 1 nut. It takes a 10mm socket to remove. Now we can go ahead and remove. It slides right out. Next, you want to disconnect the IAT sensor here with this connector. Just press in and pull off. Now go ahead and remove the breather hose from the factory air filter. Now if you find that it's stuck or hard to get off, you can always use a flathead to help pry around to remove it. All right, next we need to loosen this clamp. Bolts right here, takes an 8mm socket. Next we need to remove this bolt, same thing, 8mm socket. All right, now we can go ahead and remove the factory air intake system. Now this tube may be a little stuck on the throttle body. You can always just take a flathead, just to kind of work it around just a little bit to help loosen it so you can pry it off. Go. All right, once you have the factory air intake out, one thing you want to make sure of is look right here because there's a rubber grommet that's supposed to go in there. In many cases, this will come off with the factory air intake system. So simply remove it and stick it back in here. All right, next we need to disconnect the electrical connector going to the throttle body. There's a tab here. Push up. Now you can press down to disconnect. All right, next we need to remove these 4 bolts that secure the throttle body to the intake. It's going to use an 8mm socket to remove. All right, as you can see, the throttle body gasket came off with the throttle body. So you want to make sure you go ahead and remove that from the factory throttle body. Then go ahead and reinstall it. There we go. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install the AFE 90mm throttle body onto the vehicle. So we're going to flip the throttle body over. This being the bottom, this being the top. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our gasket. And you're going to see our gasket only lines up one way. So you can see flipped over this way, everything lines up. If I flip it over this way, this doesn't line up. So flip it over this way. Then we're going to take our adapter plate. It goes 80 to 90. We're going to flip that over. We're going to line that up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take 2 out of the 4 bolts and go ahead and insert them. And now it's going to make it a lot easier for us to go ahead and install it onto the vehicle. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our throttle body, line it up with the 2 top holes, hold it there. Go ahead and take our 8mm socket just to get them a little snug. Now we can take our 2 remaining bolts and they should go in without any issue. Go ahead and tighten them down after you got all 4 in. All right, once you got all 4 of them tight, go ahead and torque them down to 44 inch-pounds. All right, now you can go ahead and reinstall the electrical connector. Press the tab in. Now we need to remove this factory mount from the factory airbox housing. So you actually don't have to take this entire thing apart to get it. So I'm going to show you an easy trick to get this out easily. All right, if you look at the bottom of the housing, if you look right in here, see where my finger's pointing? That's a bolt. And it takes a 10mm wrench to loosen it. Now the good thing is if you put a wrench on here, then when you flip it around, then you can use your hand to unscrew this. All right, I'm going to take my 10mm wrench, reach down in here and find that bolt. Once I've got the wrench on there, now I can unscrew it. And pull the bolt out. There we go. All right, next we need to remove this factory grommet. Easiest way, kind of press with your finger, pry out the metal part, and then you can simply pull out the rest of the rubber grommet and set that aside. All right, next we need to remove the IAT sensor from the factory air intake hose. Just simply twist back and forth and work it out. Just be careful with it, because you don't want to break it. There we go, set that aside. All right, now we got our AFE Momentum GT housing. There's a few parts that we need to transfer from the existing that we already removed. So we're gonna take that rubber grommet, set it in here, and take the metal piece, press it in. All right, next we're gonna take that factory mount that we removed earlier, take the bolt. You can reach your hand through here, find the hole, and then screw it on. Just make sure it's snug. You really don't even need to use a wrench on this one. It's pretty tight. Next, I'm going to install the seal trim on the bottom of the housing. Now you can see it's pretty tight, and you just kind of have to work it around. So just kind of start at one end and start moving it down, pressing down while you go. And then just try to keep sliding it. So it's a pretty tight fit, so you may have to work with it a little bit before you get it all the way on, especially around the curves. All right, now we've got the seal trim all the way around on the bottom of the housing. All right, now we need to go ahead and take the filter and install it into the housing. Just slides in. And then you just want to press it in until it locks into place. You're going to see that you've got these tabs, and you just got to work the tabs in so it'll lock into place. Once you got it in, you'll feel it pop, and then everything should be sealed all the way around. All right, the next step is going to depend on what option you want to go with. Now, the air intake system comes with a cap that you can simply insert here. Now, the purpose of this is where you can connect the headlamp air duct to go from the cold air intake to the headlamp, where it directs air into it from the headlamp. Now, this is not included with the kit. It is able to be purchased separately, but for most people that have the shaker or any 6.4 in general, most will end up going with this mod to get that fresh air from the headlamp into the cold air intake. So for us, since we have this, we're definitely going to put this in. You're going to see there's a tab right here. That's going to line up here, and you just press it in like so. All right, next we're going to take the AFE power intake. We have a rubber grommet here, and we also have a fitting. Now this is going to be for the IAT sensor, and then we also have a breather hose. So we're going to start, take the breather hose that's provided, insert it, like so. Now you're going to take your rubber grommet, and slide it in. And then take your fitting. We're going to press it in. Now it's a tight fit, but one trick you can do is just take your other hand, press it inside, so that way the rubber seal is sealed all the way around and there's no kinks or anything. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install our IAT sensor. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you look at this up close, you'll see that you've got kind of two alignment tabs on the sensor. And that is going to line up with what you see inside of this grommet. So go ahead and insert the sensor. Slightly press in. Don't press in hard. But you'll feel it actually go all the way in when you have it lined up. And then you'll see this tab is lined up or is pressed up against the intake, and then twist, and it's in. All right, next you want to take your AFE power coupler and install it onto the throttle body. You also have a clamp. You want to make sure the clamp is as loose as it can be. And then you're going to work that coupler around onto the throttle body itself. Now, keep in mind, this is a larger throttle body than stock, so this coupler is going to be a tight fit getting it on. But it will fit, so just make sure it's on there nice and tight. And then once you do that, make sure it's flush all the way around. All right, once it's tight, take your clamp, tighten it down with an 8mm socket. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install the housing. Now, because we have the headlamp air duct, it is a little more challenging to get in. You have to get things lined up just perfectly to have enough room to get it in there. You may have to work with it quite a bit just to get it in there just right. But it will fit. It's a snug fit, but basically just kind of try to move it. Once you see that it's not moving at all, that's when you know everything is secure, including the headlamp air duct, and that's it. All right, next you want to go ahead and put the remaining two clamps on. You want to keep them loose. Smaller one goes on the throttle body side, and the larger one goes on where the air filter is. Now you're ready to put the intake tube on. All right, now we're going to take our intake tube, work it in. Now, it is definitely a tight fit. I would suggest getting it into the air filter first, because at least you can move the box. All right, next we're going to reinstall the bolt to secure the housing into place. Now you may have to kind of push on the housing a little bit to line up the hole. But once you get it started with your fingers, you can tighten it down with an 8mm socket. All right, now we need to tighten these two clamps, one going to the air filter and then one going to the coupler to the throttle body. 8mm socket, tighten them down. Then go ahead and connect your breather hose. Now with your breather hose, you may want to twist it a little bit. You want to make sure there are no kinks in that hose. All right, next, take the connector to the IAT sensor, reconnect. Make sure it snaps into place. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put the base of the shaker back on. First, we're going to work the actual shaker hose somewhat in position, and then we're going to line everything else up. Then we're going to start with the one nut, Put that one on. We're not going to make any of them tight until we get all of the bolts back in. All right, now go ahead and get the hose completely in to the base. All right, once you feel that it's flush, then you can go ahead and tighten down your bolts in one nut. 10mm socket. All right, go ahead and reinstall your push pins. Just line it up with the hole and press it in. There's the first one. All right, and get the other one. Press it in. All right, I'll put the shaker back on. And secure it with the 4 nuts. Tighten them with a 10mm socket. All right, now you can put the seal back on. All right, now you can go ahead and reconnect your battery. Tighten it down with a 10mm socket. So this concludes the video on how to install the Advanced Flow Engineering 90mm throttle body and cold air intake system for the Dodge Challenger with the shaker hood. Again, this works for both the 6.4 liter and 5.7 liter V8 engines equipped with the shaker hood. Now, if you're interested in purchasing either one of these products, you can do so directly on our website at enginecustomsandperformance.com. And if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss any future install videos. And until next time, I'm out.